Good morning, Spartan athletes. I just wanted to bring you a word of encouragement today from God's Word. And it's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. It's from Matthew chapter 25, verse 14 to 30. So if you have a Bible, I would totally encourage you to read it yourself. And for some of you, you'll know it. It's called the Parable of the Talents. And when we hear talent, especially in the sports world, we kind of think of our athletic talents. In this story, the talent was actually an amount of money. And so I'm going to read it to you from a version of the translation of the Bible called The Message, which kind of puts it into modern day language. So let's start there and then we'll have a few thoughts. It's also like a man going off on an extended trip. He called his servants together and delegated responsibilities. To one, he gave $5,000. To another 2,000, to a third 1,000, depending on their abilities. Then he left. Right off, the first servant went to work and doubled his master's investment. The second did the same. But the man with the single thousand dug a hole and carefully buried his master's money. After a long absence, the master of those three servants came back and settled up with them. The one given $5,000 showed him how he had doubled his investment. His master commended him. "Good work. You did your job well. From now on, you'll be a partner of mine." The servant with the 2,000 showed how he had also doubled his master's investment and commended him. "Good work. You did your job well. From now on, be my partner." The servant given 1,000 said, "Master, I know you have high standards and you hate careless ways, that you demand the best and make no allowances for error. I was afraid it might disappoint you, so I found a good hiding place and I secured your money. Here it is, safe and sound, down to the last cent." The master was furious. "That's a terrible way to live. It's criminal to live cautiously like that. If you knew I was after the best, why did you do less than the least? The least you could have done is invested it with the bank, where at least I could have gotten a little interest. Take the 1,000, give it to the one who risks the most, and get this play it safe, who won't go out on a limb person out of here." So a couple of interesting points in this. I think one of the first things I like about this is that clearly the master is giving these talents, and it's super important as the Spartan athletes to understand that your talent, whatever your talent may be in whatever sport you're in, it's a gift to you. It's not something that is, somehow you have magically given it to yourself. It's a gift that you are simply stewarding. And if any of you are Lord of the Ring fans, I love in the Lord of the Rings, there's a scene where the steward of Gondor, who's been protecting the city forever, there's been no king, they don't know where the king is, and the king finally comes back and they're able to turn things over and say, "I've done my best, here it is," and you give it back to the king, and the king puts his arm around his shoulder and says, "Well done." And I think that's what I want for each one of our athletes, is that with the gifts that you've been given, when that final day comes for you and it's time to take your last breath, and God looks at you and says, what did you do with the talents I gave you? You're going to hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant," because you simply used those talents really well. The other thing you'll notice is we don't all get the same talents. It wasn't like everybody got 5, everyone got 3. There was some got 5, some got 3. And it didn't really matter that the person that had 5 or 3, the response was the same, that they had both just been really good with what they had been given. And it wasn't like somehow the person with more talents was treated more special than somebody with less talent. It has nothing to do with the amount of talent that we have. It's just that we are being faithful with the talent that we have been given. It reminds me, when I was growing up in high school, I was 1 year older than Steve Nash. Steve Nash has won the MVP of the NBA 2 years, which is a rare thing to do it once, let alone do it twice. And this is a guy from Victoria who was not actually that great of a basketball player when I played against him. He was good. We thought he might go on and play at the U Sport level, maybe get a crack at the States, sit on the bench, and then come back up here. But here's a guy who went down in the States. He only had one NCAA offer, went down, worked his tail off. And I have no idea if he is a Christian or not, but this is a guy who used the talent that he was given and absolutely maximized it. And I've always been super impressed by that. And then finally, I think you'll see here that one of the big things is that we do not want to be people who dig a hole and put our talent in the ground. God totally values people who are willing to take a risk Go out on a limb, do something incredible, do something amazing. When you're after doing what God has asked you to do, there is all kinds of grace for that. So risk big, go big, understand where your talent has come from. And I hope you can be inspired by the parable of the talents. Have a great day.